Hello and welcome back to part 3 of my rock making tutorial. In the last one we created these two rocks here. Perhaps your rocks look very different from mine. That's okay. No two rocks should look the same, so that's good. Anyways, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put our texture maps that we created and we're going to make materials with them. Anyways, so on the last one, yeah, we also UV unwrapped, so you can see that they have their islands. They're all stacked on top of each other because they're all going to be sharing a pretty seamless material that we created. Anyway, so let's dive right in. So I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to go into the materials tab here, and I'm going to create a new material, and I'm going to put in like maybe rock material, looking good. So now I've done the rock material, but it's not being applied to the other two that I've been selected. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to click this little button down here, this little down arrow, and I'm going to click copy material to select it. There. So now there's a little 3 here, and that shows that these 3 are all sharing the same material. That's good. So now we're ready to start diving in and working on the material. So we're going to go to the shading tab up here, the shading tab, and you're going to be brought into something like this. And on the left here, you're going to see that there's your file structure or whatever. You can probably go into here, and I'd probably change this to the UV editor. Nice to see the UVs that we just did. And then this one here, which is this image thing, we probably don't need this, so I'm just gonna drag what I did is I've like grabbed the corner up here, and I'm gonna drag it, and I'm gonna join it to the. Oh, I was being silly. I'm gonna drag it and join it into the areas. Good. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna hit Shift A. Search image texture, and input an image texture. And here we're going to open the maps that we created. So here we got the texture map that we created. I'll put you in. And then what we're going to do is maybe we're just going to Shift D to duplicate. Grab both of these. Shift D again to duplicate. And then one more. I made 6 texture maps. Maybe you made more, maybe you made less. That's okay. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to start opening all the texture maps into each one of these. So I'm grabbing the pebbles high, the pebbles low, like cracks and pebbles high, I should say. Just cracks high. This one is probably going to be just the cracks low, and then this one is going to be just the pebbles high counts. There you go. So now we have these 6 texture maps, and if I go and I start plugging them into, say, the base color here, you'll see, there they are. This one is the one with all the pebbles. This one should be having no cracks or any pebbles. This one should just be having just the cracks, high amount of cracks. This one's gonna be the low amount of cracks and pebbles. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Especially on these rocks over here. That's the beauty of this all. It's all fun. Anyways, so as you can see, it looks kind of cool. It looks like a black and white rock, but it doesn't have the coloring and it doesn't have the texturing of a rock. That's okay. We're gonna fix that. So I'll stick in the color here. I'm gonna drag over here, and I'm gonna come into here and I'm gonna make a color ramp. Plug it into the color there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the high pebbles and cracks, and I'm going to drag you into the color ramp. And you'll see, bam, it looks like the same as it did before. But something to note is if I start dragging you around, now only the pebbles are showing. That's pretty neat. And essentially what I'm trying to show here is that on this side here, this correlates to all black, and this over here correlates to all white, like 0 and 1. And then anything between here would be like obviously between 0 and 1. So like this gray could be somewhere in the middle here, right? So if I bring it over, you'll see it's starting to fill up that gray, and now it's fully black because I've passed that threshold on the color ramp. So that's pretty neat. So we're going to use this exact thing that I just did to start creating color, right? You could think of this light side here as correlating to the light parts here, like the far right side of the color ramp correlating to the lighter parts here, and the far left hand side of the color ramp correlating to like the pebbles and the cracks and stuff. So that's pretty neat. So then let's say with the pebbles, well, we probably don't want black pebbles. So we probably maybe want like reddish, maybe like reddish like pebbles or brownish pebbles, kind of like maybe like garnet or something. I don't know. So there you go. You can see they're like they're all red in here, and then the cracks also started turning red. And if I drag you over, it'll really like make the cracks come out as red too. And ooh, that looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Anyways, so that's why I like to think of this as being over here's the pebbles, and then over here's the rock face. And then the rock face, we probably don't want it to be pure white. We could probably bring it down a little, maybe like a little bit of a grayish. And we can add another, like I hit the plus here and I added another color in here. And if I drag it over to this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it, darker gray. So this one's going to be lighter gray, right? I'll bring it up a bit more. And this is going to be like a bit of a darker gray, right? And I could think of this side over here as correlating to the rock face. So this is going to be like a gray rock face. Maybe your rock face is like tan or something, or brown. Sure, go for it. Nothing's stopping you there. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to want to like start to work with the like cracks and the things in between, like this part here. And I was kind of thinking like maybe I want it to be dirty, right? It's going to have dirt in it. So in this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it maybe to like a tan color. I'm going to bring you, maybe you could actually bring it darker. So like have like a dark dirt in it. Dirt can be pretty dark. And then I'm going to add another one, bring it on this side of it. And this is going to be like the lighter dirt, right? So I'll bring you just a bit lighter, bring you to like there or something. There, that looks like lighter dirt. And yeah, it looks pretty crazy because of the fact that there's nothing in between here. But so if I wanted to like drag you down, there we go. Now we have like kind of dirt in the cracks. These are red garnet pebbles, and then the rock face here is white. So that's pretty cool. So maybe you're happy with this. You can go for it. You can take this and make this into a rock. In fact, maybe I will. This looks pretty good. All right, so let's stick with this. I'm pretty happy with this. We could adjust the color slider if you want. And, maybe you want things to be there. That looks pretty cool. So what's really cool about this is this is the beauty of it all. You can really make like an endless number of rocks. But I think this one looks pretty good. So if I come over to my other rocks here and see what it looks like, that looks pretty good. But yeah, so now it looks like a rock. But does it feel like a rock? I didn't know we were going to get so philosophical here. Anyways, I think it looks like a rock, but I don't think it feels like a rock. We need to have that texture to really make it sell that it's a rock, So what I did is I'm dragging the normal here, and I'm going to put it into the bump node. You can look up bump, and you put it into the normal of the bump. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put its height into a color ramp. Yeah. And then plug this color into the factor of the color ramp. And huzzah! It doesn't look like anything's changed. But the magic happens when I press this button here. I'm going to press it right now. Whoa! Look at that! We are now at distance 0.1. And look at this. It really looks like a cool looking rock face now, huh? And maybe yeah, I think it looks really good. Let's see what happens if I hit the invert. So you invert it, it'll invert the rock face. So you click like this, the cracks are kind of going. If I hit the invert off, the kind of cracks are kind of looking like they're going in. It kind of looks like these guys are kind of poking out, right? So that's pretty good. That's a-okay. I think that this came out looking really good. So finally, as you've noticed, so look at over here and the roughness. You can see how shiny this is, roughness 0.5. I bring it up, all the way to 1, and well, now it's all flat. But what I don't like is how, you know, some of these pebbles I'd imagine to be a bit more, shiny, and then this to be very flat. Maybe some of the cracks could have some shine in them. I don't know. So what we're going to do is we're going to just drag this into another color ramp. Or actually, what better just use the roughness into the color ramp. Sure. Color into the color ramp, and then drag you into the factor. There we go. So now we have the roughness being here. So that, again, this side is 0 roughness, so super smooth. And this side here is extremely rough, a 1. So again, if I was to drag this slider over, you'll see it really smoothing everything up. And if I were to drag you over here, it should really unsmooth things. But, so like the pebbles, for instance, we probably want them to be a lot shinier. So maybe I'll turn you up. And I don't want it to be like fully like black there, because then rocks aren't really smooth. So I like to have it like, more gray. And then I could probably drag this guy over a little. Why not? You can see how if I just bring it over, you can like make parts of it look a little bit more smoother. Maybe I'll do like there or something. That looks good. And now we smoothed it all up, and you've noticed, the rocks look like they're kind of going into the thing. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want it to go out of it. If I hit the invert, look at that. Now it looks like they're coming out. Isn't that neat? And it's because of the smoothness, really. The smoothness made it look like it's changed. So that looks pretty good. Then this is the first like rock that we generated. I can take a look at it over here. And I'd say that looks pretty darn good. Something else that like maybe you want to take off the invert, and you want the cracks to kind of go in, and the pebbles. Let's see. Maybe if I drag this up, what happens? Nope, it just flattens it. So, and that's the kind of things you might maybe want to play around with to figure it out, Anyways, I'm going to hit the invert again. I like having these come out. It looks better. We are good to go. You can see it on the rocks. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with this. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start baking these. So I'm going to create another image texture and bring it up here. And I'm going to hit new. This is going to just be like rock baker. Sure. Take off the alpha. Leave it at 1024 pixels because my texture maps are 1024. If you made your texture maps in 4K, put this as 4K. Maybe you put your texture maps as like 256 pixels. Put these at 256. I'd recommend keeping these at the same size as your texture map. But I'd made it as 1K, so I'm going to keep it as 1K. So if I click on it, what I should be doing here is get this on the rock baker. There we go. So you can see now my UV editor. I wasn't on it before. I had to do this. But most likely for you, if you just clicked on it, it would be here. All right, so now we got all this set up, we can start doing the render properties, and we're going to bake this onto our image here, essentially, our rock baker image. So what we're going to do is we're going to change over to cycles, put it to GPU compute. If you don't have this, that's okay. You can still use the CPU. We're going to turn off noise threshold and denoise, and I'm going to turn the samples down to like 10. That way it'll be a really quick bake for us. Then we're going to come down to the bake tab and open it up and change the bake type from combined to diffuse. I'm going to turn off the contributions of direct and indirect and only have color. It's going to clear the image, and we're going to do 16 pixel margin. That's fine. And I'm going to hit bake. And there we go. Oh, I guess before, if it like, maybe you like tried to hit bake and it says no valid selected objects or something, or maybe you had all of these things selected and you hit bake. Let's see what happens. Or, maybe you were having like this one selected and you hit bake. It's going to look funky like this. Make sure you have just the plane selected and you hit bake. There you go. So the plane, the rock baker, and you can hit bake. All good. So now I'm going to hit image on the UV part here, and I'm going to hit save as. And I'm going to put it as like rock diffuse 1. I have a bunch of pre-made ones already, but yeah, you're probably going to just maybe save it as rock diffuse 1. Or you could save it as like rock diffuse arid if you want it to be more specific. But yeah, I'm just doing 1. It's fine. And then I'm going to do normal and hit bake. Image, save as, rock diffuse normal 1, save. And then I'll do roughness. So we're just doing the normal, the color, and the roughness. Those are the ones we're also plugged in. So image, save as. I'm going to do rough 1. Sure. Save. And there we go. And then now at this point, what I'd like to do is take all of these guys. So I'm holding down the shift key after selecting this. So I was able to select all of these. I'm going to hit shift D to duplicate, and I'm going to bring it up. And there, I've saved these settings here for me to use if I need to down the line. So then now what we're going to do is start working on a different rock texture. Maybe we want it to be more mossy, like we're thinking it's like in a forest kind of floor or something. I don't know, forest rock. And with a forest rock, I tend to think like maybe the dirt is it's a little dirtier, right? So I'm bringing the dirt slider up. The like white face might be poking through some of the dirt, but it won't be as much, right? And then what we're gonna want is we're gonna want some moss. So I'm gonna bring in, I'm gonna want it to be like a dark greenish. That looks good. Sure, why not? And then actually maybe I'll bring this to be a bit of a darker green. I like it looking pretty darkish. There we go. And then this one here, the other moss, I'm gonna put it as like a bit of a lighter green. Obviously that's a little too light. You can see there. That looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe you have your own like colors preset for your game. You can put those in here now so that you can have the same colors on your other game. Or the same colors so they match your other stuff. Anyways, so we have this looking thing. It looks pretty funky, but it looks pretty cool. But maybe you don't want these pebbles here. You say, it's like we're trying to do like a mossy floor thing. These pebbles are kind of just poking out. That's okay, we got it. We can just come into here, one without any pebbles, like just the crack texture high or whatever. Let's put you in, see what it looks like. Plunk it all into these 3. And there we go. That's what it looked like without any of the pebbles. Pretty cool. So then, as you can see, maybe you're like, it's weird that it's like coming out of it. It almost looks like a strange alien substance or something. That's okay. We could fix that by inverting or taking off the invert. Now look at that. The cracks are going in. There we go. That's starting to look pretty cool. And then from here, maybe you think it's a little too much dirt and stuff. Or maybe you want to have more dirt and less moss or something. I don't know. You could just play around with the sliders until you're happy with it. Or maybe you want it to be here and then have the moss on the other side of the dirt. And the dirt is taking up the cracks. There we go. That looks pretty cool. Okay. Bring the moss up. We could bring you guys over here and have like the moss over here. Look at that. So now we're able to bring this down a bit. There we go. So now it looks like the cracks are a bit dark. They have dirt and stuff in them from this slider. And then we have moss and stuff growing out on the outside of it. And then we have the rock face kind of underneath. Maybe we don't want it to be like, gray rock face. We could just bring over the other dirt slider and yeah, we could just get rid of these altogether, but I kind of like having the gray underneath. It gives it some variety. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. Maybe you want this as your texture. That's a-okay. But anyways, so now we've done this. And it's like a mossy thing over top. So you're like, it's not going to be really like, it's going to be pretty darn rough at this point. So I could just simply play around with the roughness slider until I'm happy with how it looks. I can come down to here and play around with the normals. Maybe we feel like it'd be silly for this part to be, it's better to have texture on it. Play around with this. Maybe we don't want the cracks We want the cracks to be flat. I don't want the cracks to be flat, but maybe you do. There you go. You can. So I'd say this looks pretty darn good. It's like a rocky texture. Let's take a look at the other rocks now. See how it looks on them. And I'd say that looks pretty good. So maybe I'd be happy with this, and I'm going to save this as my mossy texture. So what I'd like to do is first, I guess what we should do is actually just bake it. Why not? So we'll start baking this so we'll do the diffuse. And it's going to be the same process as before. So bake the diffuse, save as, and I'm going to save it as rock diffuse 2. You can pay it as like rock diffuse moss or something. And then I'm going to do the normal, bake it, image, save as, and then I'm going to do like the rock normal 2. You can also put it as rock normal moss, and then roughness. There we go. And save as, and like rock rough 2 for me. You can put it as like rock rough moss. And that looks pretty good. So then now, what I'd like to do is highlight these guys. And then this one that's using it, hit Shift D and bring it up. Put it over here. Let's bring you closer. And there we go. So this is now our moss slider. So this one was the first arid. This is our moss. And if we ever wanted to come back and change it, maybe we want to have less moss. We can do that quite easily. Look at this. Maybe we want it to look something like that. That looks pretty cool. That's the beauty of this all. It's really neat how you make your one texture map, and it just turns into, you know, gorgeousness. So yeah, pretty happy with this. Do you think we should do? Sure, why not? Let's do it. We'll do one with like way less moss. Just a little bit of moss in there. We do. Maybe you want it to be a little dirty. Bring this dirt slider back up. You know. Look at this. Maybe we just want it to be just a slight thing. Maybe we want this to be like over here. It's not really a dirty, it's just going to be like a dirty rock, you know? And then, there we go, bringing the moss up a bit. And then this like red slider is kind of cool because it's like gives your moss a little variation in the color and stuff. Maybe you want that. I don't know. So like moss is always green. Common colors to be found in moss is like this. Even black or dark gray you can throw into there. Let's say I turn this. I'll do that for fun. Let's say I turn this like fully black, and I bring it, just slide it over a little, so you can see how like this is black, but I bring it over and it's like it's starting to mix with the green, so you can make it like a darker green, stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. So then like looking at this, and then maybe you think you don't like how the crack is looking, you want to like invert it and see how it looks. Play around with the inverting. You can do that. And maybe it's at this point you say, well, these cracks, it's just a bit ridiculous to have it looking like this. It looks like spider webs and stuff coming out of it. Well, that's okay. We got a low amount of cracks. So let's plug that in. See how that looks. This is why I like having these multiple maps that I made up. Here we go. So this is it with just the few amount of cracks in there. Just a few splotches of moss here and there. And that looks pretty darn good for just like simply like a small amount of moss on it. There we go. And that's why I like to have that variation of having lots of cracks and a few amount of cracks. We can bring this up if we wanted. Maybe we wanted to be more mossy. But I think I'm happy with this. So we're going to just do that. And we're going to do the baker. We're just going to bake it. So now we're going to do, maybe we want to do this to be a snowy texture or whatever. Well, we can. So, probably, snow doesn't have any black, I'm going to say. And the moss here, we're probably going to change it to be like more of like a white looking thing. So let's bring it up. There we go. There we go. And then this side on this one here, we don't want it to be fully white, so I'll bring it just a little bit down. That way, like, you kind of have the transition of like the gray into the white. So, like, especially on places where there's going to be, you know, a lot of like dirt, for instance. So you see here, I just did that, and now the gray transitions into the white a lot, like pretty nicely. So then now, like, let's say we wanted this, and this would be like, you know, just a few patches of snow on the ground. We can. Or maybe we want it to be like super snowy. We also can. Look at that. There. And that's a super snowy texture. So I'm just going to quickly show, like, you know, what it would look like in this scenario. Let's say you wanted it to be like this. Right? So let's bring this down. Okay. So let's say we have this and we're like, this is some pretty good snow. We could also adjust the color ramp here on the normal, and it'll like smoothen out the snow, as you can see. It's not really, so there we go. I'll just zoom in. You can see I'm kind of smoothing out the snow. So that's pretty cool. So let's do that. And there we go. So maybe we want to do this. You can go for it. But for me, I'm only making 4 texture maps just for this tutorial. You can make an endless number of texture maps. There's nothing stopping you. But for me, I'm just doing 4. And for my 4th one, I was thinking I wanted it to be extra snowy. So let's do that. So let's bring you guys over. Bring it up. Bring you up. Look at that. Pretty darn snowy. So if I just like zoom in, I could probably bring you guys over and make it like really smooth. Or really snowy. Sorry. Bring the dirt back up. Anyways, so that looks pretty good for super snowy. We want it to be, you know, pretty flat though on the snow. So I'll bring this slider up, and you can see it's really churning it to look like this. If we wanted it to be like, you know, like that, like this, then it really looks like it's covered in snow with just a few things poking out. Or we could do this and it's like it has a little bit of more depth into it. And you can play around with this as well. So anyways, I'm going to just put it maybe like there or something. That looks pretty cool. Look at the rocks. That looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with this. So now if I come into here and I'm going to just look at the smoothness, I kind of think that, like, you know, it's snow. It might be a little bit more smoother. So I could just try dragging you up and dragging around on the smoothness. Sure, that looks pretty decent. I'll bring the smoothness to where the snow is around. There, that looks pretty cool. So we could keep this as our snowy texture. But yeah, for just this like one, I'm doing this as the snowy one. You could have had it the other way where it's like, you know, less snow, more snow. Nothing's stopping you from making however you wanted to make it. But anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bake this one, and I'm going to do the diffuse and so on and so forth. And there we go. So all of them have been baked and saved. I'll come over here and save this last slider that I made. Bring it up over here. And there we go. So now we have 4 different rock textures that I made. I've baked them. And I have low poly meshes set up. Oh, I could probably rename this to rock. And rename this to rock 2. Looking good. So now I have rock 2 and rock. And a plane. So I have the 4 materials set up. It's all been baked. It's all pretty much ready to go into a game engine at this point. And if you wanted to, and you just simply wanted to just have these rocks and have them be their own materials, you could just take it into the game engine right away and go for it. But in the next part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these into an atlas, and I'm going to take each of these rocks and put them, map them into the atlas so that they can all share the same material. So these like 4 textures will all be sharing the same material, and we'll have 4 rocks, each looking unique, but they're all going to be sharing the same material. And then we can bring that into the game engine. Anyways, I'll see you there. Take care.